Hi, welcome to this short video. In this video, I want to share with you new media and new money opportunities. That is, the opportunities that have come with new media and how that can generate some income for you, some monetary value for you. But then just before I jump into this video, let me give a little background about myself. My name is Dayo Samuel, and I help tiny businesses magnetize, mesmerize, and monetize their audience and message online. I'm the host of Audacity to Lead podcast. In December 2015, I was awarded the New Media Entrepreneur of the Year, which means I have a couple of expertise and some experience and knowledge in the area of new media. So I'm going to be sharing with you in this series from that wealth of knowledge and expertise. So now that you have a little background about me, let's jump into this video. Awesome, let's go. So the image on your screen is actually a little description of mine, something I have actually used to explain what difference there is between old media and new media. As you can see, before now, if you have to reach somebody about 10, 15, 16 years ago, if you have to reach somebody, pass a message across to somebody, you have to do that, especially when it's a long message that you have to write. You remember the days of NiPost, you remember the days of Telegram, of faxing. Now, those can be categorized as direct mail. Now, new media came and had to replace the direct mail with emails. Two, there used to be the days of networking where for you to actually meet somebody, you have to be at a physical event. You have to be with them physically. There has to be a one-on-one connection, like a physical connection. But these days, because of the influx of new media, through Facebook and other social networks, you can actually connect with somebody one-on-one. Three, before now, TV used to be the omnipotent platform for anybody who is visual and needs to see things or needs to speak to people in terms of showing his face or presenting an information visually to people. TV was the platform, was a media channel that a lot of people were going in. But these days, new media has taken over. And when I say new media, what do I mean? New media simply means the way technology has actually taken over the regular traditional media. Now, when we talk about traditional media, there's print media, there's electronic media, of which print media used to be direct mail. In fact, newspaper used to be print media, but these days they have been imposed by new media channels. Now, those days, TV used to be the omnipotent, or if we have to be everywhere and be omnipresent, TV used to be the tool for you to use. But these days, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook Live, Periscope, Blab, all of that have taken over TV as a new media channel. Now, for radio, which a lot of people actually listen to, these days, podcasts have actually taken over the place of radio. I can remember the last time I was in a conversation with my dad over at his house, and he said, "I've not really seen you listen to radio." And I said, "Yes, I actually don't listen to radio, but I have that since I listen to." Now, a lot of people actually know me with podcasts. So podcast has actually replaced radio, audio programs and all that. Now, old media used to be that newspaper is what you go to when you need information about certain things going on in your industry, certain things going on in your environment, certain things going on in your country. But these days, blogs and websites have replaced newspapers. Now, let's take a step forward. Now, what are the opportunities that exist with new media? As a new media practitioner or a new media person, you have the opportunity of becoming a social and community manager. You have the opportunity of becoming an email marketing specialist. You could also work as a content marketing specialist. You could be a conversion and analytics specialist. You could also be a customer value optimization specialist. And now that is, you can be a user experience optimization specialist. I hope I'll get into details about all this later on in this series. Now, you could also be a video marketing specialist. Remember I said there used to be TV, now there's YouTube. So In the area of YouTube and video channels, video marketing is where you come in. Now, in the area of having blogs and websites, customer acquisition specialist is someone who actually takes care of that for people. So these are new media opportunities that you can actually tap into. Now, a lot of people know me with podcasts, so in this particular video, let me quickly jump into talking about podcasts. And remember, I said there used to be the powerful radio, but now it's been replaced by podcasts. Now, what are podcasts? Podcasts are simply audio programs that are available, audio or video programs that are available on the internet in an episodic format. By episodic format, I mean it's available in a continuous process. Is available in a series, let's say like 10, 20, 30, or a weekly series, a monthly series, a quarterly series. Now, all of these that you can see on the screen and examples of podcasts. You can see this is TED Global here, which is TED, which is the TED show, the TED videos you watch, probably on YouTube. This is Self-Made Entrepreneurs. This is Cool Things Entrepreneurs. This is a Brand Perfect, which is a podcast about branding. And this is Wealth Through Coaching, which is a podcast about coaching. Now, this is iPhone Masterclass. Now, this is a podcast about iPhone, which means that before now, you have to get on radio to actually have this kind of program. But now, with the flick of your phone, with just sitting down like I am doing right now, you can actually have your own radio program in the form of podcast audio programs. Now, these are also examples of podcasts. This is Ask Gary V Show. This is Free Podcast Course. This is The Pivot. This is London Calling, a podcast about London, and this is One Shot Podcast. Now, this is a podcast about basketball, and this is a podcast about Africa. So there can be practically podcast about anything. In fact, look at this area. There's a podcast about history of pirates. So you can probably have podcast about just anything. Now, what can a podcast do for a business? First of all, a podcast can help a business to build your brand. Your podcast can help you build your brand in ways that text content may not be able to do. A podcast allows you to connect emotionally with an audience. Now, when I say emotionally with an audience, this is what I always use to explain that. If I say, you can feel what I just said. But if I had written that, I could only have written SIGH, which is sigh. You wouldn't have felt what I felt. So there's an emotional connection that exists with having a podcast, and that is some of what an audience, clients, customers are looking for, the authenticity that comes with you doing a business. Now, this is an opportunity for you. Anyway, I'll get to that. Now, a podcast has higher levels of engagement. Whenever I talk about this is what I always explain to people. If you are watching this video right now, I've actually cut you off doing other things. But with an audio podcast, you don't have to be cut off other things. You can be as engaged with your podcast as possible, yet you are doing other things. So a podcast allows higher levels of engagement. Now, a podcast has increased the level of authority because there is a perception, there is a feeling, there is something about the human voice that it's not possible through a written text. And that is what a podcast can do for you. It can help you increase the level of authority you have. Now, a podcast easily allows you to turn listeners to clients and customers. It's a faster way for you to actually get customers, get clients, get that for your business. And the last thing I would like to say is that a podcast allows you to stand out from the crowd. I remember in 2014, February 2014, when I was going to launch Audacity to Lead, I made up my mind that I was going to have a podcast. As way back as 2012, I decided I was going to have a podcast. So in 2014, I said, okay, this is the year I'm going to actually launch my first podcast. Now, I realized that a lot of experts, coaches, consultants, leadership experts, all of them, they are all doing Twitter programs, they are all doing social media programs, all of them are having workshops, having programs. One way or the other, they are doing something and they are very successful at what they are doing. So I thought to myself, how can I actually do something different from what every other person is doing? And then, because I've had the passion for audio and media channels that are different or let me say new media, I decided I was going to follow the path of blogging and podcast. So on the around 24th of June 2014, when I launched my podcast, almost every expert I knew then followed me almost instantly on Twitter. Some of them connected with me on BBM. And over 6 months of running my podcast, I've got to meet a lot of people that I never would have met if I had continued doing whatever other person were doing. In fact, today, this is 2016, and in 2 years of doing podcast every week, not as regular anyway, every week like that, I found that it's something that has helped me to actually stand out a lot from a lot of other persons. And that's one of the things a podcast can do for your business, by reason of you having a way of delivering content to people in a way that is different from what they are used to. It makes it easier for you to actually be easily identified. Now, I always tell people that new things get noticed. There's a statistics about standing out from the crowd using podcasts that I've always shared. Now, for every 5,900 blogs that exist on a particular topic, there seems to be only one or two, less than 10 podcasts available on the same topic. So it means that if other people, if everyone is aware that there are blogs that are talking about this, there are blogs that are talking about that, and then out of 5,900 blogs, you have a podcast, does that look like you're actually standing out from the crowd? If yes, then I think one of the channels you should start considering as a new media opportunity is a podcast, especially if you have a business or you are looking to work with businesses. And if you're looking to work with businesses, now I'm going to get to that in a couple of seconds. So now, these are a couple of podcasts that I love and listen to. The Art and Business of Public Speaking by Dynamic Communicators. This is Read to Lead podcast. Now, let me even show you something. Now, Read to Lead podcast. Now, remember I said it before that my dad was asking me that it looks like I don't listen to radio. And I was like, well, I have other things I listen to. Now, if you look at this screen very well, you see that this is Read to Lead podcast here. And you can find the Read to Lead podcast in the dashboard of this car. Now, this is a car, and this is the radio set of the car. But you can see there's 105.1, there's 96.9 Cool FM. But this person is not listening to the radio. Instead, he's using maybe his phone or maybe whatever device he's using. He's only to listen to podcasts. That means that gradually, podcast is replacing the traditional radio. Now, if you understand what I meant by this, it means that very soon, almost every car will be carrying podcasts in their dashboards. In fact, since 2015, there are producers of cars who have actually started using podcasts as their own dashboards instead of regular radio. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that the opportunities for podcasts is vast, and businesses will start looking for people to do podcasts for them. Companies will start looking for people who are going to be handling podcasts for them. And that's where I want to share with you the opportunities that actually exist. Now, you could work as an editor, whether outsourced or freelance. Now, what I mean by outsourced is that you could work as an editor, you handle their editing for them, you do all the whole editing for them, and you can also work as a freelance editor. Like somebody I know actually started a website to service podcasters and he does editing for them. Now, you could also work as an in-house production specialist. In fact, I've had an opportunity to be interviewed by a very famous HR company in Lagos State, and they asked me that they wanted me to work with them, in that I should do their podcast for them. So you can also work with that. Now, you could also be a sound engineer. For example, if you are someone like me who has very sharp ear for sound, you can work as sound engineer, in that you can help them mix, master, and produce their audios. Now, you can also work as podcast promotion specialist. You could promote podcasts for people. Now, these are opportunities that exist, and I hope that this video has at least added something to you, and I've shown you a couple of the opportunities that exist with both new media and with podcasts. In the next video, I'm going to share on one of the other ways that I've mentioned. So I want to say thank you for watching this video. And if you'd like to join my podcast network, Nigeria Podcast Network, you can come over to audacitytolead.com/NPN. I see you again in the next video.